Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, fellow Amazonians. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Talk Show. This is Scope Television. Please endeavor to share the links as you listen to this analysis. This is a special edition of Talk the Talk. We are talking about the analysis of the speech of the Central Africa dictator, to be very specific, Mr. Pobia of the Republic du Cameroon. So we want to talk about the analysis of the speech. Here with me in the studio, I have this distinguished gentleman, a dynamic comrade, Comrade Jojo. Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Comrade Jojo. You listened to what Mr. Bia said. He made a speech, an August speech in the month of September, since the creation of the statehood of Southern Cameroon, or let me say Cameroon as a whole. We have never seen the head of state of La République du Cameroun addressing two nations at the same time. And worst of all, in September. So, Comrade Jojo, did Mr. Bia say anything new in his address that you want to comment on? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question, comrade. I like the way you asked the question. That is very, very unusual. Yes, it's unusual. This is unusual because Mr. Bia was actually compelled to do a speech most probably because of the endorsement of the Swiss talks, which I presume Bia is trying to avoid by all costs. And he has every reason to try to avoid these Swiss talks because he has nothing to present on the table. This Swiss talk will be based on facts. And the facts are that Bia is not the legitimate leader of the Southern Cameroons. And one other thing I'd like to talk about the speech is just that the speech was very, very boring. He didn't say anything that is new. He didn't actually say anything that is new. The only thing that I'll point out that are new in this speech is that he first of all acknowledged the fact that there is genocide going on in Amberland. He acknowledged that because he talked about genocide. This is something that has been echoed by the international community. So he acknowledged that, and by acknowledging that, he tried to defense by accusing the Amber Boys of being responsible for the genocide. But we all know that they are the ones responsible. We all know that they are the ones responsible for the killing of Baby Mata, who was lying, sleeping in her bed. That is genocide. We know that they did that. We all know that they are the ones who are born in our schools. Even though he tried to turn it around, we saw the military who were pretending to be guarding Sacred Heart. We saw them, they burned down Sacred Heart. We've seen them, we've caught them on camera burning down houses. It is clear. And so for him to come around and start pointing fingers to the separatists, as he calls them, then it is, first of all, it's really a childish and a denial of what is happening. And another thing I want to talk about this speech is that it was very, very contradictory. Because at one point he will say he doesn't know who to discuss with him. At another point he'll start talking about calling diaspora to come, calling those who are fighting to lay down. The man was just so confused. The person who wrote the speech did a very, very bad job. And that is because they were just compelled to do it. They thought it was an obligation for them to do such a thing. It was just like a window dressing to me. What I'll say is just like a window dressing to deceive the international community that they are doing something about it. So, when they are actually not doing anything about it. So when he talked about this talk, what's new there? We've had the ACC 1, we've had the ACC 2, we've had the Grand Debate. We also have the Constitution, the Decentralization Constitution that was drawn over 22 years ago. All these have amounted to nothing. So what's new in what he said? Because he was talking about decentralization, he was talking about a crisis that he does not even acknowledge. Because he first of all began by saying that there is no Anglophone problem, there's no marginalization problem. To begin with, we are not talking about marginalization. That's the first point. We're not talking about marginalization. We are talking about our country. We are talking about the structure of the country. We are talking about the terms of the agreement, the terms of the so-called union. That is what this crisis is all about. Then he intentionally tried to pretend as if he doesn't know the root causes of this problem. Meanwhile, he actually knows the root causes of this problem because he's been there from the onset. By claiming that the crisis began in 2016, is in fact denying the causes of this crisis. And if you do not acknowledge the causes of the crisis, how then do you solve it? Because the international community have been talking about calling a broad-based dialogue to address the root causes of this, of the conflict. He's pretending as if the conflict began in 2006. And look at some very childish thing that he said. When he said the lawyers were trying, they were asking for a translation of a certain type of document. What translation? Is it the type of translation that I'm seeing on their notice boards, like Ansin Emang, like in the public? Is that the type of translation? Because the lawyers are well able to translate their own documents without asking them to do this translation. Because when they do this translation, what they turn up to do is to confuse the people. The lawyers are capable of doing that. So what else translation? You see, the man is living in self-deceit. He can only deceive himself. And that is why I'm not surprised that no prominent member within the international community, a part of his bedfellow, Antonio Guterres, who have endorsed the talk. Because the German parliamentarian discarded that talk and said they should be sanctioned. That's no talk. That's not the type of talk that we're asking for. We're asking for a broad-based dialogue to be mediated by the international community, so that everybody will sit down and listen to. This is what didn't happen. This is what was supposed to happen after the plebiscite. That was what was supposed to happen, but it didn't happen. And so what he's just trying to do, in short, he just wasted my time and wasted his time, to be honest with you, because he actually said nothing. Except there's something I want to add. There's actually nothing in that speech that is worth even talking about. But I'm glad that he acknowledged that he's committing genocide in Ambalan.
Thank you so much, Comrade Jojo. You know, that is like an overview of the speech. But I intend that as the days go by, we will analyze the statements to prove to many people who are still confused, because many French speaking Cameroonians or the many La Republic citizens, I call them La Republicans, they have not gotten it right. Some of them are confused, some of them are frustrated, but then nothing new, absolutely nothing new. What I saw was like somebody singing the same. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pair of water, over and over and over for many years. That is just the same thing. Or somebody singing this hey diddle diddle. It's the same song. If you hear it today, it's the same thing. London Bridge is falling down. Down is the same song. Every infant sings. That is the song of an infant. That's how I look at it. It's more or less like a Disney war, a fairy tale, a kind of a cosmetic, ridiculous thing. It's just like those toys you buy for your kids, and then they play with them. I've asked them, please, can you give me this toy? Let me see it. They will refuse to give you because they think daddy wants to own my toy, but they forgot that you bought the toy. That is something. That's why I looked at it, because that is how beer is. But in your opinion, what do you think we, first as scope members and as Amazonians, should do so that the international community will take us seriously? What should we do so that La Republic and the international community should take us seriously? What should we do?
Yeah,
What will
I'm
you
glad
propose?
because that by that question is only shows that they are not taking us seriously. And why they are not taking us seriously, the main reason why I think they are not taking us seriously is because up to this point, 3 years into the conflict, when it started when it restarted in 2016, we as Ambazonians, let me talk about Ambazonians, we as Ambazonians, we haven't demonstrated any level of maturity that the international community can count on. And that is why one of the things also that I was glad in Mr. Bia's speech is that Mr. Bia indirectly is asking us to come together, is asking us to unite, to talk with one tone. That is why he had the audacity to say that he does not, who is he going to dialogue with, even though he knows exactly who to dialogue with. He knows that Sisiko Ayet is behind there because he's behind bars and has been sentenced to life imprisonment because he wants people to dialogue. He actually knows who to dialogue with. But then, in essence, what he was saying is that we are just so disjointed. We disagree in everything that we do. And so, us as Ambazonians, what we have to do is to demonstrate a level of maturity that the world will see that, yes, these people are ready to govern themselves. Because the world cannot afford to see it is key in this very strategic area in the Gulf of Guinea, like what they claim is happening in Sudan. And even though they know exactly what is happening in Sudan. So what I think we should be doing is, I'm not saying that we should discard all the groups that are going on. What I'm saying that we need to start talking to each other. Because we cannot say we want to talk with La Republic, who is supposed to be our enemy, but we cannot talk with each other. It doesn't make sense to me. We first of all have to start to talk to each other. We have to start to identify the strength of each of the different groups. For instance, Scope is good at diplomacy. I think we should gather resources and give Scope to go and do the diplomacy. ADC is good at ADC and Sokadev, they are good at self-defense. We should gather the resources and give them to do the self-defense. And then the legal system, the lawyers, we should gather our legal-minded people in this revolution to start to be educating, to continue not actually educating, emphasize on the constitutionality of our crisis. Understand the fact that we are a people. It is not by mistake that they ask us to go in for a plebiscite to decide on whether we want to join La République du Cameroon or Nigeria. It's not by accident. It's because they recognize us as a people. This is a fact. It is not by accident that it is only the two. Let me just use this word to satisfy them. It's not by accident that it is only the two regions, that is the southwest region and the northwest region, that are involved in this conflict. It's not by accident. It is because we are a people. It is not by accident. It's not by accident that he himself talked about that. Even though it is a national dialogue, we are going to end there. They are going to stress. They are going to emphasize on the Anglophone problem. It's not an accident. It is because we are a people. You see, so. And so it is about time we begin to focus on the bigger picture. That is, focus on the fact that we are Ambazonians, and we should be talking about Ambazonia, the Ambazonian crisis, and we should not be trying to project what this group is doing better than the other group. No. What we should be trying to do is to complement each other. What we should be trying to do is to look at the strength of each of the groups, then divide the work accordingly. Then you see, one of the reasons why Bia is surviving up to this point is because, one, they have the money to hire firms to lobby on their behalf. We have people here, instead of lobbying, trying to educate the world, emphasizing on some of the things that they are trying to say. For example, when they are talking about the southern region, we say, no, we are not the southern region. We are Ambazonians. Because it's also high time that we just throw away this Cameroon, because that is what is confusing them. By constantly referring to ourselves as Southern Cameroonians, it's confusing them. It's even confusing the citizens of La Republic. That is why they think that because we have the same surname, we are a family. No, we are not a family. Many countries, they have changed their name. Yeah, we used to be Southern Cameroonians, the former but we decided to change our name to Ambazonia. There was nothing wrong in that. Rhodesia, Southern and Northern Rhodesia, Zambia and Zimbabwe, respectively. Burkina Faso changed their name from Upper Volta to Burkina Faso. Same was Ghana, from Gold Coast to Ghana. People change their name all the time. Zaire changed their name from Zaire to Congo and back to from Congo to Zaire and from Zaire back to Congo. So we've changed our name, and so we should be the one to sell that name so that they shouldn't be confused. We should keep on emphasizing. That is some of the things that we are not selling the Amazonian cause effectively. And we have people who should be selling this cause. But what we do is we spend all our time attacking this group or that group or this personality or that personality, making a reach out of some of the leaders and projecting some of the leaders as demigods, even though they have failed enormously in what they are doing. So what we should be doing, we should be talking to each other. We've not been talking to each other. We should be trying to compliment and respect and be tolerant to each other rather than tearing each other apart. Because this tearing each other apart is what is making the international community see that we are not serious. We haven't demonstrated any level of maturity so far, and that is what we should be doing.
Thank you so much, Comrade Jojo. You know, actually, we have to do a lot of lobbying. We have to do a lot of diplomacy. We have to do a lot of ground zero work. We have to do a lot of engaging law firms, not only lobby firms, but law firms. There are other things we have to do around the legal system so that La Republic will receive the proper justice and the people justice. They'll be called to justice. Amazonia will get the justice that it deserves. That is something that we have to do. We have to mobilize. We have to strategize. We have to learn to take new informations. You know, actually, those are some of the things I tell Amazonians most often. We need to learn to take new information and take it seriously. We also need to learn how to understand that the way I used to protest in 2019 or 2017, I cannot do that in 2019. And what still, we are getting towards the last quarter of 2019. We have to improve on what kind of protest, who is the target, what do we intend to sell during the protest? So everything must be done in a tactful way, targeting a target, an audience that can create a change. That is something that Amazonians ought to do. And I want to say that, you know, somebody says all road leads to Geneva. But you have said something here that I want to ask you. Bia did not mention the Swiss initiative. What is your take on that aspect? Because to me, I don't understand. What is your take?
It's very simple. It's because he's trying to avoid it. He has nothing to offer at Swiss because this will have to do with constitutionality, the constitutionality of the relationship. If you look at, let's just go back. Okay, let's just go back. We see, we voted in a plebiscite to join them. And when you vote in a plebiscite, that vote was just, the result of that vote was just the first step. The next and the most important step was for us to sit down and discuss the terms of the agreement, the terms of the union. But that never happened. And by default, we are an independent country because the United Nations voted for our independence. You know that. We are an independent country. Even before we went into this plebiscite, we had a prime minister, we had a government. We've changed government from an incumbent to a member of the opposition who won the election, and power was transferred. And so if there goes into the Swiss talk, they will have nothing to talk about because that agreement that was supposed to be agreed on never happened. Let's take, for instance, what is happening with Britain within the European Union. Yes, they voted to leave the European Union, but to the extent that they haven't arrived a deal to leave the European Union, by default, until they have an agreement. We never had that agreement. If you want to argue me, because that is what we'll be talking, if you want to argue me, then show me the agreement that we have anything in common. We have some sort of a relationship. And okay, let's say, for example, I have a plot. Okay, I want to sell this plot to you. What you have to do, we agree that, yeah, we sell the plot for say 5 million. Okay, then you haven't given me that money, or even if you give me just part of the money, and you don't give the whole money, because the agreement was, and you didn't give me that whole money, then by default that plot remains mine because you haven't given me that money. So it is mine. So by default, we are a nation. We are Southern Cameroonians. So we are Ambazonians, the former British Southern Cameroon. So if Bia have to go to Johnny and his group, they'll have nothing to talk about. And so that is why they are trying by all means to avoid this initiative, to pretend as if it does not even exist. But this is something that has been endorsed by the EU. It has been endorsed by the United Nations. It has been endorsed by Canada. It has been endorsed by Norway. So he's trying to avoid it. He's trying to avoid it and to take us back to the same situation that we had during the Fumban conference. Because in the Fumban conference, there was nobody there. So I just have to do anything. And I'm glad that there's no agreement for them to show that something happened. And even if there was an agreement, this is simple. Take for instance, say you and I will marry today. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. As simple as that. Divorce is allowed, even by the Catholic, who are opposed most to divorce. But they know that during certain circumstances, if something is not working, it's not working. The British people, the United Kingdom, they voted to join the EU. They actually voted to join the EU. But now the EU is not meeting their aspiration. It's not meeting their expectation. So they voted out of it. It's as simple as that. Union is not, you don't say it to be. You don't say it by keep on repeating one and the same thing. Cameroon is one and indivisible, one and indivisible. Doesn't make the Cameroons to be one and indivisible. One and indivisibility is not preach. It is practice. You make me to feel that we are one. You don't tell me that we are one, but you don't make me feel that we are one. Then what happens to the fact that people calling us that the Biafran, the Bamenda, rentrez chez vous, where chez vous, return back to where you belong. So what happened to that? Is it only now that they recognize us as one and indivisible? What happened to all this?
Thank you so much, Comrade Jojo. You made a very powerful remark, but there is something that I picked out from what you said. We voted a plebiscite. We didn't sign. So if they have a paper that we signed on that by this plebiscite, we are one and indivisible, they should bring. The next thing is the ratification of the plebiscite. That was never done. In some way, let me say that by the elements and the forces of the nature, or by the decree of heaven, God had made it in such a way that that should never be rectified, because He saw the heart of the Frenchman from the word go and understood that they want to take us and turn us into donkeys, not to people. We are not even people are saying second class. We are donkeys who go everywhere and they have distributed us throughout the face of the earth. That is something we need to understand, and we have refused to say no. We know where we come from. We know our identity. The next thing in there you mentioned was that it was never mentioned, the Swiss initiative. Yes, Bia is talking about national dialogue, and he asks a question with whom, this is a general overview, but we are going to take the paragraph in a systematic way, paragraph by paragraph, and analyze so that many people can get it. So what I want to put it is this way. The Swiss initiative is the biggest nightmare to La République and all the people who have been supporting them, because they know what happened to President Omar el-Bashir of Sudan when he went to Switzerland. They know the outcome. They know that Sudan, that was one and indivisible, became two divisible. Even things that are one and indivisible have been divided. Let us put it this way. They know what happened to Indonesia when Indonesia went to Switzerland. East Timor came out victorious. So they knew that they understood that it is something that East Timor came out victorious. Kosovo came out victorious. They understand. That's why he's trying to commonize. He's trying to break down or bring down the standard by breaking the morals. And he's trying to play the game to gain time of a dialogue, national dialogue. This problem is not national dialogue. Bia knows that, even everybody knows that Bia cannot solve this problem. It's a constitutional problem that stems from a failed decolonization procedure that has led to annexation and assimilation of the people of an English-speaking territory, of a people, this Amazonian territory, the southern Cameroons, that most nations know of it in the documentation of the United Nations. That is why he knows he cannot solve an international problem. He knows he cannot correct the constitutionality, because we are people who have an identity, we have a territory, we have boundaries that are clear. That is why he is dodging. He's trying to reduce it from this thing, an internationally recognized conflict, to a national one, of which he himself does not have the audacity or the capacity to solve it. If he has the audacity and the capacity to solve it, he's been in power for approximately 4 decades. He should have solved the problem. You see, so that is it. And that is, like you rightly mentioned, you talked of the UK, and I look at it this way. It has taken Britain a change of 3 prime ministers only to negotiate the Brexit issue. David Cameron resigned. Madam Theresa May has resigned. Now it's Boris Johnson. And probably if he doesn't sort it out, he will resign. So you see 3 prime ministers only with Brexit. And Brexit was voted in which year? I think it's not long ago, you know. So that is it. If Britain, it can take 3 change of leadership, 3 change of leaders in Britain to come out of Brexit, and still yet they are not done. They are still trying to negotiate papers, how they will engage in free trade with other states of the European Union, how they're going to do other things, because they've been part of that union. They have been a major contributor to that union. So that is it. So Biya cannot come and trivialize, commonize the cause of the Southern Cameroon people. That is something that is very clear. He knows the fate of it, and he knows that our case is even brighter, clearer, and legal-wise, it is more justified than even South Sudan, than even East Timor, than even Kosovo, and other parts of the world. So that is the fear. That is the nightmare that has gripped Yaoundé. And Yaoundé may dribble or try to play a kind of a match. Let me tell you, it is time that I've seen Yaoundé. Actually, this is my take. They have picked the ball and they have run out of the field. That is what is happening now. I don't know if you've seen it that way. Actually, they have picked the ball and they have run out of the field. They thought they had control of the ball. But the match has started. And this match is a match that other people need to hear. And people are determined and they are inspired to correct this unconstitutionality in the United Nations. They're determined to correct that which they make as a mistake. They must visit it, because the Southern Cameroon people are demanding that we were placed in a Category B mandate under the League of Nations with Syria and Lebanon. The Syria and Lebanon had their independence. Go and check the date of their independence. It was during the era of the League of Nations. Egypt had its independence as a mandated territory in 1922. South Africa has its independence in 1910. So by default, Southern Cameroon should be independent during the League of Nations, not even with the United Nations, because it was a mandated territory taken from the Germans after the Treaty of Versailles. So that is something that they know the outcome. This is a historical and a constitutional and a legal kind of a problem. That is why they have seen that, no, it's better we give these people what they need. You need to get what you deserve. I believe that we are not trusting somebody to give us what we deserve, but we are going to demand it. Please God. We are going to demand what we deserve, what we want. Actually, what do we want? We are going to get it. That is actually what we're going to get. That is it. We are going to demand. We know what we want. We must get it. So what do you think? Make a quick take before we move to the next question.
Yeah, no, let you know, as you say, you just said a lot of things. And one of the things that I also realized in his speech is that he spoke without the least conviction, because he himself does not even believe in what he's saying. He knows that it's not going to work, because you cannot keep on doing the same thing over and over again and expect different results. We've had, like I said earlier, we've had the ACC 1 and 2. Nothing came out of that. We had the Grand Debate. Nothing came out of that. We have the 1996 Constitution, this Constitution that was that over 22 years ago. Nothing came out of that. So we cannot go now again and hold the same thing and expect a different result. No, that is not going to work. If he has his way, he's going to do everything to avoid the Swiss talk. Like you said, many people who've been to different countries been to Switzerland, they saw the outcome. Like you talk about Kosovo, South Timor, East Timor, sorry, and other nations. And when they are when they as one as so-called one and indivisible became out as one and two, as two and more divisible.
Yes.
Understand?
Yeah.
So then again, it's not. I don't know. I don't know what that man is actually thinking. He wanted to bring down the problem to marginalization until he was not even ashamed to say there is a lack of infrastructural problem in other parts of all those other regions, because he's just trying to sell this to his citizens, because this is what the citizens want, that the problem in Cameroon is a national problem. Why are we the only ones complaining? Which he himself knows exactly that that is not what we're talking about. We've never talked about the roads. We're talking about the started with the educational and judiciary system. That was the emphasis. It started about which does not exist in any place. So then he went on to say another very childish thing, that the fact that all prime ministers have been from the southern Cameroons is proof that there's no marginalization. That's damn stupidity. To begin with, you don't appoint prime ministers. I don't know prime ministers that are appointed. The prime minister Netanyahu is campaigning now for election. The prime minister of this country, they campaign for election. All prime ministers that I know, they are elected. They are not appointed. And when you talk, you just appoint your friend without any powers. Then you say that is you say that is proof that there is no marginalization. How is that proof that there's no marginalization? Those people that he has appointed, can he point to us one thing that those people have done to their people? And it's not like they don't represent the people in any way. They are representing only their mouth. And that is why you see somebody like Achille will say, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. He scratches Bia's back, and Bia scratches his back and appointed him prime minister. And he was there, he get his own money and left. And they threw him out and brought in another person. So what are they doing? He's the one he appointed Enoni. Today Enoni is in prison. So he is someone who can do anything that he wants. So the whole thing is not something that we should even just waste our time and to talk about, because the man is just so childish and boring and saying one and the same thing over and over again. But actually annoying to say the least.
Thank you.
We just had to listen because to hear what he has to say. The only thing that man would have said that would have made sense was that, okay, we've had the problem, yes, in the days ahead or in the months ahead or weeks ahead, we are going to withdraw the troops, and then we're going to release all the prisoners, and we're going to recruit some teachers, then we're going to see then we're going to prepare ourselves to come to Switzerland to discuss. Yes, that's the only thing that he would have said that would have made sense to me.
But definitely an oppressor will not want its captive or the oppressed to go, because he's been feeding fat on our resources. Yeah. Just like Omar al-Bashir exploited the oil fields of South Sudan to enrich himself. He's sitting in that is North Sudan. He's feeling very comfortable, but it's the oil fields of South Sudan that is really feeding fat. So when they had to go to Geneva, you see, it became a farce to him. It's a nightmare. And that is why going to Geneva or to Switzerland is a nightmare to be here, because he's been there. They never knew that that place that he considered his external house, where he usually go and eat and rest and relax, that is where they're going to kill him. They always tell you that you should fix your country and remain there. He's been going to Switzerland. He's made it his second nationality, whatever. He never knew that that's where his burial ground will be. His death will come from Switzerland. He must not mention Switzerland, but he is going to be there. In fact, we are going to do everything possible to ignore everything he has said and proceed with what we know is the correct thing that we want for our people. Where that problem will be solved internationally, and we will get our country and what we want. It is unquestionable. It is
Yeah.
an indisputable fact. We are not going to debate it. Everybody is going to that Geneva. Everybody must hear and correct that mistake that was committed. Because even after the plebiscite, the United Nations was supposed to come and listen and look at the territory after 40 years and conduct an election or a plebiscite to see if we want to remain with them permanently or not. And that was failed. That was just on paper. And paper is patient. You know something? A German man says paper is patient. Paper is patient because paper does not complain. Now is
Mm.
the time for us to use our mouth and complain. Anything you write on the paper doesn't, paper refuses. It just accepts that it's okay. That is it, and that is all. And that is okay. That is the purpose of paper. But now paper is no longer patient. Everything on paper, we have to put it into action. So, in your opinion, what did you gather within the international community and from the Cameroon's and from Cameroon's reaction to the speech? You know, what did you gather? What did you gather? And what is the Cameroon's reaction from the speech? What did you gather as a comrade? Because all of us have to be detectives, investigators with authentic facts, proofs, and evidence. Comrade Jojo.
What I got out, first of all, from within, I was not surprised because those people who have been jumping up and down, those people that were giving them voice to be talking, the so-called federalists and unionists, they jumped up to embrace what he said. And which is really, it didn't surprise me in any way because that is what they've been talking all about. And even though they know that this is just empty talks, they themselves have been asking for this dialogue, but he pretended, as he said, that was not going to be, there was not going to be any dialogue. And again, I really pity these people because this man is talking about dialogue. If you want to dialogue with somebody, say for instance, you and I would decide that we want to dialogue, or even if it's a simple meeting and there is a topic that we want to discuss on, none of us will know the outcome until after the discussion, until after the deliberation. Then Mr. Bia has already talked about the outcome, that the outcome is decentralization. You get the point. So he's already betrayed himself. So then what's the point of being dialogue? Why don't just after there's a decentralization constitution, why don't you just rule it out and just say no dialogue? Why don't you just rule it out? So that was just hypocrisy. And even those people who are saying that endorsing is just hypocrisy, what are they endorsing? Do they believe in him? Because even he himself who is saying or who is talking about this dialogue, he does not. He said that without the least conviction. Because if Abia actually meant what he was saying, that same day, because before that, before he spoke, he deployed troops and they killed our people that same day. That is because he was not even sure of what he was saying. He did not even believe in what he was saying. Yet you see people like Cardinal Tumi and the Balas and all those people who care only about themselves came out to endorse it. What are they endorsing? The only thing that to me, the only reaction back home that is worth even talking about is that of the Social Democratic Front. In as much as I don't want to see anything good in what the Social Democratic Front is doing, the statement that they came out with is something that is worth talking about, because they emphasize that they must talk about the structure of the country and they must address it from the perspective of the root causes, and everybody should be involved. That is the only reaction that actually makes sense to me back home. Then within the international community, what I saw was hypocrisy. Especially I saw like this journalists. I know these journalists, they are part of they are probably part of the law firm, part of the lobbying firm that Mr. Bia has paid them to be asking stupid questions. After his speech, they rushed out to come and they interviewed Cho and Chris Anu. But when the Swiss initiative was launched, we didn't see any of these journalists coming to interview these people, because that is not what they want to see. That is not what Bia wants to happen. That is not what their paymaster, the person who is paying them to ask stupid questions, want to happen. And until one of the journalists even went on and asked, say, you are not recognized. You don't need to. I don't need to be recognized to exist. I don't need to recognize you for you to exist. And even having said that, It is not by accident, like I said in the beginning of this. It's not by accident that it is only the southern the southwest region and the northwest region that are involved in this. It is because they are a people. It's not by accident that we speak the same language. Besides the fact that we are speaking English, we also speak Pidgin. Not by accident that these two regions they have the same system of education, the same system of administration. It's not by accident that they think the same. It is because we are a people. And even forgetting about the fact that they organize a plebiscite for us to decide whether to join them or to stay with Nigeria, is the fact that they recognize us as a people. And the Banjul court also recognized us as a people. There are borders there. Those borders were drawn after treaties were signed in 1922, and these treaties were rectified in 1930s. And as far as international laws are concerned, these treaties have not been rectified. And if you like, I have videos of those boundaries. They are there. It's not like something that we are going to start demarcating the boundaries. Those boundaries are there. Those boundaries are there. They are undisputed boundaries. These are facts that we cannot deny. It is a fact that the United Nations fought for our independence. It is a fact that we're being governed from Nigeria by the British. And again, like the British, you see, they always like to divide people. That is why they divided the Cameroons between the northern Cameroons and the southern Cameroons, because they wanted to divide people to rule them. It's the same thing that they did with the Irish people. And that's why people are just so confused that there are two Irelands, because they divided them. And one of the Irish fought for their complete autonomy and got this complete autonomy. And what is the difference with our case? You see, that is a hypocrisy within the international community. They endorse a beer talk, they endorse a Swiss thing. If I stand up again and talk about another thing, they will endorse it. Where do they stand? Because I'm glad that it's not even one of these countries. It's just this law firm. Because those journalists that are asking those questions, I know they are living under the paycheck of Mr. Bia to be asking silly questions. I expect journalists to do their homework. I expect journalists, when you're asking questions, when you want to come and interview a person, you go out and do your research. And if they have done their research properly, they won't be asking the type of questions that they're asking by saying that we are not recognized people. Even if you recognize us or not, we do recognize us. And if you look at what has the recognition, say for instance, the recognition of the UN done to those countries that they recognize, besides the fact that they're helping them to destroy themselves. They recognize the Congos. What is happening in the Congos? What have they done to show that they recognize the Congos? To ensure that peace reigns in Congo. They've been fighting for years. Okay, they recognize Cameroon as it is. They've been fighting now for 3 years. We've been complaining for the past 60 years. What have they done to ensure that there's peace and stability, other than thinking about their interests and how they want the world geopolitics to be structured? Because that is what they're thinking about. They should stop considering us, using us as guinea pig to carry out the experiment. It is high time they look into the crux of the matter, the root causes of this matter, because it is only by solving the root causes of this matter that this problem will be solved permanently. Any other solution beside a two-state solution is bound to fail, will not be sustainable. And the earlier they acknowledge that, the better, because they cannot continue to toy with us. People are dying. And someone said people are, so you just ignore this talk and allow your people to keep on dying, as if we declare the war. Bia declared the war. There's a switch initiative that he's trying to avoid. And this is an opportunity for us to go out there and educate our people about this Swiss initiative. So I don't all this talk about not neutral, or all this stuff. I don't get it. I don't get it. You never get the kind of neutrality that you're talking about, because this world is based on interest. Just go there. When people are there, everybody is seated. You bring your facts. People will be discussing on facts. They'll not be discussing on sentiments, because the facts will be there to speak for themselves, and there'll be no need for somebody to be killing preacher. preaching about sentiment or alliances or all those sort of things. We can see in politics, there are no permanent friends or enemies. These same people that you see talking about, that you are claiming that they are attached to La Republic, if we become an independent state tomorrow, you see they will be rushing to us to form, to become our friends, to create embassies in our country. It is a way we, and again, we are playing a very delicate game here. We don't want to create animosity with other countries by saying that, by not trusting them. Just trust somebody, go there. They are not going there to impose anything on you. Negotiations are negotiations. Nobody is going to impose anything on anybody. And that is why I see negotiations are very, very long. If you ask me personally, I won't even opt for negotiation. I'll opt for a referendum, because that will be the easiest way to sort this thing out. But then the modalities of the referendum will be well spelled out and will be conducted by a neutral party, by a party that we can trust, beginning from the registration right up to the conducting of the referendum and the declaration of the result, without La Republic having anything to do with it, because I will be to sort these things out. Because this negotiation, and people will still be dying, because they will not just stop the war because negotiations are going on.
Thank you so much, Comrade Jojo. Comrade Jojo, you said quite a lot of things, and I want to say that what would be your final take? Because Bia is proposing that our problem is bilingualism and multiculturalism. I don't know how that is connected to the Southern Cameroon problem. Can you say that for say 3 minutes, and then we make a take, and
the only thing, you said it already. The only thing, just ignore what Bia said. He hasn't said anything new. So there's nothing we can even talk about that. Just continue to do what we're doing. Try as much as possible. We have to learn from this. Bring ourselves together. Begin to learn to talk to each other. Begin to learn to appreciate what other groups are doing. Try as much as possible to complement each other and demonstrate a certain level of maturity, so that the international community can see that we understand what we are looking for. And we also need to emphasizing on the Swiss initiative, or even not the Swiss initiative, on the type of dialogue to discuss the root causes that will be overseen by the international community. A type of dialogue that will be in a neutral place, not a dialogue that will be in La Republic of Cameroon. Because there is no guarantee whatsoever that if any person, he talks about the diaspora, there's no guarantee that any person lives here and go there, their life will be guaranteed. There is nothing. Life will be guaranteed. Their freedom will never be guaranteed. So it's a non-event. It's not something that we should talk about. Our people should just ignore it and keep on doing what they are doing. And the most important thing, we need to mobilize our people. We need to rebuild trust. We need to come together and rebuild trust, so that people should contribute their money, because we can fund this war. Then another thing that we should do is that not every group should be involved on the ground. Like I said, we should identify the strength of each and every group. So each group should work on their strength while supporting the other groups that are doing something else. We should work like a football team. The defender should be there doing the defending. The goalkeeper should be there stopping the ball from getting into the net. The attacker should be there trying to score. And our attacker should be our diplomats who are going out there trying to create more awareness. Then us, the people, I think we need to start demonstrating once a month, at least, like you said, targeted demonstration on specific places with specific demands, with our name. This is it. We keep on, so long as they keep on trying to narrow us down to 2 groups, 2 regions within the Cameroon, we should continue aggressively in making them to understand that we are not 2 groups, we are not 2 regions within the Republic of Cameroon. We are Ambazonians, as simple as that.
Thank you so much, Comrade Jojo. I hope our audience out there get a message very clear. It is very clear. We are Amazonians. Our target, the big elephant, is the Swiss initiative. Nobody goes to that kind of God-forsaken national dialogue with who, as he said rightly. He has already determined the outcome of his dialogue, and he has already said decentralization. So be it for him. But then we are not going in for that. All roads we are going to Switzerland. That is where the root causes and the constitutionality of the statehood and the sovereignty of the Southern Cameroons that was voted by the United Nations has to be resolved. The sovereignty of that country called Ambazonia. That is where it has to be determined. We are going to Geneva. Only the international community can resolve, mediate, or come up with a negotiation of what we are, who we are, our identity. That is where the problem started. We are going back to where Resolution 1608 was taken. That our birth certificate, we have to claim it back, our sovereignty, our identity, our integrity as an entity cannot be compromised. Thank you very much. Fellow viewers, endeavor to share the links as you join us. We'll keep coming up with a lot of analysis, word by word, paragraph by paragraph, so that our viewers can understand why we have to go to Geneva. The Swiss initiative is the way forward. It's one of the way forward. Thank you, Comrade Jojo, for participating in this program. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you for having me, and have a nice weekend too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.